What if every single US president, all 46 of them, from George Washington to Joe Biden, was teleported into the same arena and forced to fight to the death? Welcome to the Presidential Hunger Games. Here are the rules. Each president shows up at peak office health, meaning whatever their best physical condition was while sitting in the Oval Office. Last man standing wins. There are weapons scattered around a central cornucopia. Rifles, axes, swords, machine guns from every era of American history. Sponsors can airdrop supplies. The arena is a forest. And just to make this even more unhinged, Grover Cleveland shows up twice because he served 2 non-consecutive terms and the rules say everyone counts. Yeah, the Cleveland twins are real. Let's get into it. First, the easy eliminations. The blood is in the cornucopia. William Henry Harrison gives a speech in the rain on minute 1 and is dead of pneumonia by sundown. Zachary Taylor follows him within hours because Taylor literally died in office from a stomach illness. Franklin Roosevelt has polio, lives in a wheelchair, and the second the starting horn blows, every president from a frontier state mentally writes him off. Taft is the heaviest president in history at over 350 pounds. He cannot run, he cannot hide, and any cornucopia weapon heavier than a knife slows him down further. Trump is in his 70s, hates exercise, and has spent decades publicly claiming that working out drains your life force. He doesn't last long. Then there's the middle tier. Obama's actually in pretty good shape. He played pickup basketball and ran daily during his presidency, but he has never been in a real fight in his life, and unfortunately he's also the only black president in a field full of men from openly racist eras. The threat to him isn't his fitness. It's the dozen or so antebellum presidents quietly forming a coalition around eliminating him first. Clinton was reasonably fit, but had a notorious love of fast food. JFK looks great on camera, but secretly had Addison's disease, debilitating back pain, and was on opiates and amphetamines through most of his term. There's also a running joke that he got migraines if he went 3 days without sex, which in the Hunger Games arena is going to be a problem. His PT-109 wartime version would be a contender. The president version isn't. So who actually wins? Let's start with the obvious favorite, Teddy Roosevelt. He boxed at Harvard. He led a cavalry charge up San Juan Hill while serving as vice president. He was a deputy sheriff in the Old West, a big game hunter, a survivalist, and the youngest president to ever take office. The cherry on top. In 1912, Teddy was shot in the chest at point-blank range, paused, said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I have just been shot," and then delivered a 90-minute campaign speech with the bullet still inside him. A man who finishes a speech mid-assassination is not someone you want to share an arena with, but Teddy is not running away with this. The real competition comes from the era when presidents were basically wrestlers. Abraham Lincoln is 6'4", still the tallest president ever. He grew up splitting rails in the Kentucky backwoods. He fought roughly 300 competitive wrestling matches and only lost once. He's the first person on documented record to use what would later be called the chokeslam. The doctor who performed his autopsy famously said he had the body of a man 20 years his junior. When Lincoln was challenged to a duel, he picked broadswords on a narrow plank, then casually chopped a branch off a tree above his opponent's head to make a point. The opponent surrendered before the duel started. There's also a real account from a biographer who argued that John Wilkes Booth was terrified of missing his pistol shot, because if he missed, Lincoln would have simply picked him up and hurled him off the balcony. Now meet the villain of this scenario, Andrew Jackson. Old Hickory was, by every honest historical account, a violent maniac. He fought between 5 and 100 duels, depending on which source you trust, and won basically all of them. When somebody once tried to assassinate him, both of the assassin's pistols misfired, and Jackson personally beat the man within an inch of his life on the White House lawn using nothing but a wooden cane. His guards had to physically drag him off. Anyone who's read about him concludes the same thing. He's not winning friends in this arena, but he's killing a lot of people before he dies. George Washington is older than the others by the time he reaches office, but he's 6'2" in an era when the average man was 5'6". He commanded an army in the field. He used guerrilla tactics against the British, which is exactly the kind of fighting that wins a Hunger Games. He survived smallpox, malaria, dysentery, tuberculosis, and pneumonia before he was 40. His soldiers literally believed he was unkillable. because bullets passed through his coat without ever hitting him. There are people in this arena who will refuse to attack him out of sheer reverence. Then come the underrated picks. Ulysses S. Grant is being slept on. He served 23 years in the military, graduated West Point, fought in the Mexican-American War, and won the Civil War. He's a tactical genius with the wilderness skills of a career soldier. The only knock on him is a drinking problem. But in the arena, he's sober. Dwight Eisenhower oversaw the largest amphibious invasion in human history. He doesn't have combat experience, but a man who planned D-Day is a man you do not want strategizing against you. Gerald Ford might be the dark horse of the entire field. He played All-American football at Michigan, was offered contracts by the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers, boxed in college, and served in the Navy during World War II. The only thing holding him back is being too nice. And then there's James Madison, who was 5'4" and 90 pounds. He's not winning, but at that size, he is genuinely hard to hit. He plays the role of Odd Job in a James Bond movie. Small, slippery, impossible to target. He survives way longer than anybody expects him to. So how does this actually play out? Almost certainly with alliances. The founding fathers know each other and team up. Washington brings Jefferson, Adams, and Monroe into a coalition. The Civil War generation forms its own group. Lincoln, Grant, Hayes. The modern presidents try to bond around shared culture. Obama, Clinton, Bush, Carter, but they have no fighting skill among them and they get hunted down. The military presidents end up running everything because they're the only ones with both the skills and the willingness to actually pull the trigger. In the final act, you have maybe 6 men left. Roosevelt, Lincoln, Jackson, Washington, Grant, Eisenhower. Jackson goes berserk and takes out Eisenhower before getting shot from a distance by Grant. Lincoln and Roosevelt square up for the wrestling match that the entire arena has been waiting for. Lincoln has the reach and the win record, but Roosevelt has the killer instinct. Roosevelt loses on points, then dies of an asthma attack while trying to claim the win. Washington and Lincoln stand across from each other in the kind of final that the country was built on. 2 men from completely different generations of America, both 6 feet plus, both physically intimidating, both impossible to read. And the dark horse answer that the entire internet keeps circling back to, Calvin Coolidge, the quiet president, the one nobody remembers, the man so unassuming that everyone forgot he was even in the arena. He sits in a tree the entire game, says nothing, watches the giants kill each other, and emerges on day 7 as the last man standing. He doesn't celebrate, he just nods, walks out, and goes back to being forgotten by history. That's the only ending that fits. The truth is, this is a competition that rewards 3 things: physical violence, willingness to kill, and the patience to survive. Teddy Roosevelt is the answer most people give. Lincoln is the answer history would give. But the real winner is whoever everybody underestimates. And in a field of 46, somebody is always underestimated.